Good evening, everyone. How we doing? It's iCave Dave here. How are you? Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, just thought I'd jump on a bit of a live here today. We've had a bit of a quiet week. Haven't been able to get on very much. Quiet for you guys, from me, not for me. It's been a busy week for me. So I've been getting the theatre ready to open, the cafe bar, and all that sort of stuff. The construction's finished, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, hopefully this is all going well. You guys can say hello in the chat. Make sure that I can actually make sure that you can hear me. If you can hear me okay, just let me know down in the chat. That would be really helpful. But yeah, we are here. George, hey, how you doing in the Bronx? Good to hear from you. Just let me know that everything's okay sound-wise for me. That would be really, really helpful. And yeah, we are up. 5 people watching. It's not going to be a busy stream. There's not a great deal of news going on to talk about, but we are going to have a chat nonetheless. If you've got any questions about Apple stuff, by all means, throw them down there in the chat. We will have a good natter. Probably stay on for about half an hour. That's the plan at the moment. We'll see if it ends up being longer or not. Here we go. We've got a few here. Good evening from the Netherlands. Arjan van Voort. I'll give it my best shot. X5493. Sound fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is just a little bit of a bonus stream. We've got 12 of you guys on there now. Hello, Tech God. How are you? Yeah, we are just popping on for a little bit. I've just shot an everyday carry video with all the stuff that I take with me in my bag every day. So that'll be hopefully coming out tomorrow. Hugh Levant James, how are you? Good to see you guys. Yeah, so just to let you know, there's a couple of reasons that we are on here for today. Rod Tech, hi, how's the weather? Horrendous. This is the third named storm of the week, which is quite impressive going. Phil Gilligan, how you doing? Tim Beaton, bonjour, how are you? Oh, we've got a few in now. This is getting better. So yeah, we've got some crazy weather going on here. It's not so bad just now. We had horrible weather, terrible rain earlier on today. I've been out and about all week pretty much. Michael Moy, how you doing? Been out and about all week pretty much, setting up the cafe, which is why you haven't seen that much of me. Apologies for that, and that's part of the reason that we're here today. We're going to have a little discussion on what we're going to do going forward with the channel. Some slight changes, nothing entirely drastic. I think I might have just knocked the microphone, so if that sounded horrible, apologies. But yeah, there's a few things that I want to change. There's a lot of stuff that I want to keep the same. So the reason that I'm kind of on here is to get your feedback on it as well, as much as anything else, because I think that's going to be important to the way that we do things. But here's the thing. At least for this week coming, I'm going to be working pretty much all daytimes. So that's, again, going to affect the way that I can make the videos and the stuff that's going to be available for them. I've backed myself into a bit of a corner here. So originally we were doing 12 noon every weekday at 12, and that was the time we were going to do. We then adjusted it to 1 o'clock just to give me a little bit of extra time in the morning. My old job, I basically left the house around 9 to do it. I was out on the road most of the day, kind of running my own schedule. I still run my own schedule, but that schedule is also partially dictated by the theatre and when the cafe needs to be open and things like that. So what I'm proposing is that I still try and do 5 videos a week, or 5 news-style videos a week. But I think what we're probably going to do is maybe vary the timings a little bit, so it's not necessarily going to be at the same time every day. I will still endeavour to put it out at least an hour after I kind of upload it, so we can still set it up as a premiere, so I can still join the chat as much as possible. It means we can vary it a little bit when some new news drops, that I can actually get that out quickly rather than waiting so that we always hit at the same time. So let me know your thoughts on these bits. I can see there's some more stuff coming up in the chat. We will come back to this, but do let me know your thoughts on the new style that I'm proposing, which is basically get rid of the 1300 UTC and just Apple News weekdays. That's the kind of way that we're going. And it wouldn't even necessarily be weekdays. It would be whenever we've got news to talk about. And I would still try and keep as many videos, just not necessarily at that specific time every day. That's the only thing that would change. Let me know your thoughts. So let's have a quick look at the chat. So Wondering what the chances are for M2 Mini. This is Rob Durnford. Rob, I think M2 Mini is almost a cert, because if we've got a new laptop coming out, there is literally nothing left, unless we're going to get a MacBook Pro that drops the touch bar, gets the M1 inside, and is a lower price point. That's the only way that I think we could still have an M1 in whatever this laptop is, because we don't have room for anything else in the lineup as it stands. Unless, is it the mythical 15-inch MacBook Air? I'm pretty sure it's not, because Ross Displayman would know about that, but that's kind of the only gap that we have in that in that product lineup. In terms of Tim Beaton, you've just asked if they haven't announced anything yet, surely not in a week's time. So we're expecting the announcement on the 1st of March, so the announcement is just over a week away. That's what I was trying to say, weaken a little bit. So yeah, the announcement will be around the 1st of March, and the event, we assume, on the 8th of March. That's my assumptions. That could be wrong. That seems to be the way that everyone else in the industry is pointing as well now. So I think that's pretty good. Right, let's have a look what else we've got. Lit8 is here. Hi, how you doing? Hello, hello, hello. We've got 25 people watching now, which is not bad for a basically unscheduled stream. What have we got? Sounds good. Don't often catch it at lunchtime, from Phil Gilligan. Cool. Thank you very much. Do appreciate this feedback. Wouldn't catch it quite live quite as frequently, but that's okay. From Michael Moy, that's fine. To be honest, I'm struggling a little bit to be able to be there for these premieres at the moment, so maybe varying up the time a little bit is actually going to be quite helpful for people. Different people finding it as it premieres from time to time. Let's see how that goes. Let's have a quick look what else we've got. Can't always catch it on the lunchtime slot. So that's the thing, because they're not live streams, it doesn't really matter whether you watch it as it comes out or not. That's great. It's lovely when we do have people there, and I can chat with you, and people kind of know when to expect it if they really want to see it as it comes out. But look at the vast majority of Apple channels; they're not even premiering. Most of them are just posting the videos when they're ready, and then they do the stuff around it. So yeah, that's what I would say. Oh, let's have a look what we've got here. Tony Burzio, you are extrapolating from an Intel lineup. You have to use the iPhone lineup when dealing with M-series machines. I see what you're saying, absolutely. On the other hand, we still have the same kind of consumer needs, I guess. My hope is that we would be looking at a MacBook coming in as the base level. Excuse me. My thought is we'd be having a MacBook coming in as the base level product. We have the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which it looks like that's what they were working on throughout the Lunar New Year. My thoughts are that they're going to perhaps look at doing the M2 in a base level MacBook Pro 13-inch, take away the touch bar, call it a MacBook. That comes in at the $999. We've heard that the MacBook Air wants to go up a little bit price-wise to maybe $1,200. That would put it more in line with where the Air was positioned originally in the Mac lineup, being a premium but not the powerhouse. That also then fits with where the Air is in the iPad lineup. So if you want to look at what is going on with the iOS and the iPhone stuff, that's where it should be sitting. So it should be a premium above the basic MacBook. So MacBook comes in at $999. That's the chunkier design, less of the premium features, doesn't have the mini LED display. MacBook Air comes out thin, light, no fan, no mini. Comes with the mini LED display, but probably not with ProMotion. And then at the top of the range, you've got your MacBook Pros that have the Pro level chips. They also have the ProMotion displays, because you're probably going to need the Pro chips to run the ProMotion displays, I would guess, at that scale, especially if you want to have any sort of external displays too. That is my thoughts. So Tony Burzio, I'm hoping I've said that right, Tony. Let me know what you think. Let me know down in the chat. James Apple, good to see you here. AirPods Maxi Pads, is that honestly what they're called, those cheap things? Send them to me whenever you want. Slide into my DMs on Twitter. That would be great to see those things. Or if you can find somewhere that's selling them in the UK, I'll pick some up. I really don't mind doing that. But let's have a chat in the DMs on that one. But yeah, other than that, guys, yeah, we're looking at changing a bit of how we do the channel. I do want to do some more content that's kind of evergreen. but not to the detriment of doing the news stuff. So having a look at what some of the other channels are doing out there, and having a look at a handful of the videos that I've done. So I did a sponsored video, which is on the channel, which was for one of these like Windows key websites that they sponsor YouTube videos all over the place. But I did it on the iMac, the 2013, which is the one that I did, and it was the mistake that I made, and that video like got no views when it came out. However, it's now on like 40,000 views, and that's because it's something that people are looking for, how to do boot camp, all that sort of stuff. So this is actually like a very good idea for me to actually do some more videos that are going to kind of hang around, just like the video that I've got on how to escape from multitasking on the iPad, which sometimes just appears. You don't mean to get into it, and it's not easy to get out of if you don't know what you're doing. So that video, again, it was one of the first videos that I put out. It's in the 40-something thousand views now, I think. So it's an interesting thing to look at. Let's have a look what else we've got here in the chat. Arthur Swart, the last Mac Pros were somewhat of a disaster. Do you think the M1 Mac Pro might be a no-show? No, the M1, or at least an Apple series Mac Pro is definitely coming this year. It's probably going to be WWDC. It's not going to be here at the next event. But I think they will use the M1 series chips. But it will be the massively multi-core version of it, or multiple SoCs in parallel. I'm pretty sure that I was the first one to say multiple SoCs when we saw the 20 and 40 core versions that were being bounded around. I'm sure I was talking about it in like December or January last year. I can't find the video myself, but I don't really want to watch myself talking about this stuff for too long because it's just weird. I think it's going to be a new design. I really don't think there's going to be another Intel version, even though a lot of people keep going on about it. I've been wrong about these things in the past, but it makes no sense to me. I don't know why Apple would invest the time in building a new mainboard in order to actually support something like that. But what I do think we're going to be seeing at this event in March is Mac Mini with M2, Mac Mini with M1 Pro and M1 Max, and the MacBook. The 13-inch, whatever it turns out to be. It could be that it is a MacBook Pro, that they brand it that way. It could well be that it's not going to be a MacBook Pro. It's going to be using the MacBook Pro chassis, which is why everyone thinks. Oh, audio's a bit low. We can turn that up. That's not a problem. If I can find the thing, that should do it. That a little bit better. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to get. So MacBook 13-inch, Pro chassis, being repurposed. So I think that's what we're probably going to be doing. You could do a video on how to do target display mode and the restrictions that gets asked daily on r/Mac. That's a very good idea. I actually think that one of the things right now, and Michael, this is something that would actually apply to you quite a bit, because I know you were struggling with the lack of displays that you were able to do on a single Mac, M1 level MacBook or Mac Mini. Universal control is actually how Apple is solving this. If you want to have like 6 displays, you get 2 more Mac Minis, you put the displays on them because they're very, very cheap, and then you use one of those as your master. The others will actually run their own displays, but it will act as a single system. I think that's probably how they're going to get around it. I've got a feeling that M2 is probably not even going to support more displays than M1 does. I don't think it needs to, because the vast majority of people that are buying an M series chip and not an M Pro or an M Max, 2 displays is more than enough. 1 display is probably enough for the vast majority of them. So I've got a feeling that we're not going to get many more multi-display things coming out. But yes, that's a really good point, and that's probably going to be a video that I want to do as well. James Apple, Mac Pro is going to have the M1 Maximoff chip and overkill for most users. Maximoff, so what, like Wanda? That's a bit terrifying, probably. That looks badass, by the way, the new Doctor Strange trailer. Just saying, when we're on lives, we're going to go off topic a little bit. That's what we're going to do. So, yeah. So yeah, let's see. Anyone got any other questions that we can cover? Is everyone happy with the idea of me just changing around the schedule a little bit and being a bit more fluid with that? We go away from the 1300 UTC. We go to kind of when there's news and when I can get the video out. That sounds good to me. But yeah, if you've got any other suggestions for Evergreen stuff, I like the idea of doing the display stuff. That makes a lot of sense. But there's also, as I say, my everyday carry. That will be out tomorrow. That's going to be pretty fun. If you guys are over on Twitter, feel free to share this, by the way, or whatever platform you might be on at the time. Yeah, we've got another storm going on at the moment here in the UK, which is a bit crazy. Storm Franklin, that's going on right now. Tim Beaton, I'm assuming that's a yes, you're happy with the idea, which is great. So yeah, that's probably what we're going to do. At least we'll try it for a week or so, see how it goes, see if it just completely ruins the channel. It might be that, you know, we need to have those timings. I don't know. Phil Gilligan, personally, I only need one display. Believe it's just because I can think a necessity to have more. Oh, you can't think of a reason to have more. Other folks' users may differ. See, I've been pretty much doing that one display life just recently, and I'm not missing the other one. I've got another display which actually lives up here, and I used to dual screen it. I had the second one up top and one down the bottom, which is fine. But yeah, Michael Moy, problem with Universal Control is limited hardware support. Huge numbers that have hardware from 2009 to 2018 that would like to use them as monitors. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. They've taken target display mode out of a lot of the most recent Macs. If you want to do it with the older stuff, absolutely go for it. It works really, really well. Yeah. Little Mountain Life, I'm not disappearing, mate. Don't worry. We were just saying that I'm going to change a bit of the schedule so that the videos are going to come out when it makes sense, as opposed to any of the rest of it. Little Mountain Life, hope the wind damage isn't too bad for you all. If any of you know the Millennium Dome, or the Millennium Dome, the O2 Arena in London, roof completely shredded Friday, when we had the worst of the storm. It was pretty crazy. Tim Beaton, 2 displays is good for me. Putting floating planets on one screen while I do graphics, logic, instruments, effects, etc. Yeah, that all makes sense. But also, when you've got an iPad and you can throw some of your controls onto that now, really, really helpful. I've started playing around with the Logic remote on mine while I use GarageBand. That's quite handy. I think that's kind of the way that Apple needs to go as well, is move some of the controls off of the screen onto the other stuff that you've got. iPhones could make a really good, like, screen switcher for streamers or things like that. I think there's a lot of stuff that could be done. James Apple, AirPods Max clones review, lol, and I'm here for it. Cool. If that one display is massive, you don't need more. Exactly, and that's what I've got here. So I've got a 40-inch 4K TV that's mounted on my display arm. It moves around, like it's all moves about on the desk, and it's great. And because it's 4K, I've basically got 4 1080p monitors. Just, it's all on one screen, and it looks really good. And it gives you the versatility then to kind of use it all as one, or use it as many as you want, or overlap stuff wherever you like. And my screen is an absolute mess. In fact, I will post a picture of what my display looks like right now on Twitter, and you guys can actually see, like, how I use the display when I'm streaming, just to give you an idea. So I'll just post this right now over on Twitter. It's twitter.com/iGaveDave. What a cheeky way of getting a few extra followers on Twitter, eh? Let's see, 4K TV as a live stream monitor. Ooh, try and actually spell it right. With M1. Cool. Watching people tweet, that must be pretty good live stream stuff. Apple Dave for Life's here. The rebrand of Vicious Dave for Life. So glad to have you on the team, Dave. Good to have you. Right, let's see what we got here. We got Tim Beaton. I've used Logic Remote on my iPad too. Perfect. It's a great little bit of kit. Useful when wandering in and out of my studio room. yeah, so what do I think of the new Mac Minis? I think the design is really cool. It's a little bit slimmer. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to see that new design at this event. I think we probably will. Pretty confident we will. It's got external power supply, which actually is probably because if they're putting the M1 Pro and M1 Max inside, that's taken a bit of the power, a bit of the heat away from the system. It means you can fit a lot more kind of cooling in there and keep it running faster for longer, which is going to be really important. The only reason we know it's got the external power supply as well is because it's got that same power connection that the iMac has, and that uses an external power brick now. So expect that. That's one of those things that I think you're going to see loads of people after the event going, oh, but now it's got an external power brick. It's so inelegant. No, it's not. The original Mac Minis had exactly the same thing. It was only when they went to the kind of unibody aluminium that they went internal. It is nice to have it internal, but it's also not really a grind, is it? Look at the Mac Mini, it's still so much smaller than anything else on the market that does the same thing. Tim Beaton. So I can set up mices in the big room and control logic in the control room. Okay, cool. Mices or mixers? Mixers, apparently. Tim Beaton, cool beans. Cool. Yeah, so how's everyone's week been? Let's just have a chat. We don't have to just talk about Apple the whole time. I know that's kind of what you're here for. If you've got any Apple questions, throw them down in the comments. That's what we're doing too. And yeah, we're gonna just hang out for a little bit. It'll be good. But yeah, anyone that's coming on the stream late, do be aware. This is what we've been talking about. Not going to necessarily follow the same schedule for the videos that we've been doing. Trying to just make it a little bit easier on myself while this new job gets settled in, and we certainly get through the kind of teething periods while we get the right number of supervisors in place that can all do their bits. We've got new EPOS systems coming in tomorrow morning, so that's going to be another busy day. Friday I was hoping I'd be able to get the stuff done, but then I was on calls for this EPOS system for like 4 hours listening to someone tell me about it, which was a little bit terrifying. But yeah, Rod Tech, I think Apple should just release the redesign altogether in a better order. The laptops, the all-in-one, the desktops together, and then change the SoC as needed, because I'm waiting for the M2 Air. So Rod Tech, here's the thing. The reason that we're going to probably get this 13-inch MacBook Pro, not Pro, we don't know. The reason that we're getting that one with the M2 first is because I genuinely think the mini LED displays that are required for these new designs, that's the big bottleneck that Apple is suffering right now. New iMacs not coming yet because they are waiting for those mini LED displays. Yeah, I think this is the big issue, is Apple can't keep delaying M2. They've already done test runs on M3. We know that these chips are coming. We know that all of this stuff is on the way. So there's no reason that Apple would continue to delay the M2 chip and the M3 chip, because then they're just getting behind the iPhones in terms of the chip architectures and things that are inside there. I think it's important that that's what's going on. I think they need to get the chips out the door. If they can't get all the redesigns done, fine, throw it in older hardware. We don't mind that. But I think the reason that there's still backlogs on the M1 Pro and M1 Max MacBook Pros and MacBook Pros is because they simply haven't been able to produce enough displays. That's why I think the M1 Pro, M1 Max Mac Mini makes sense, because I think there's a lot of people that are buying those at the moment because they want to be able to put it on their desktop and use it with an external display anyway. So I think there'll be a lot less constraints on the Mac Minis once they come out. That's my thoughts. And I think that's the big issue. So let's have a look here. What else have we got in the list? Tim Beaton, thoughts on the Mac Mini. If they do shoehorn an M1 Max into it, there probably won't be room for the PSU2. Yep, the external power brick, the round magnetic connector that the iMacs have right now. That's how we know. That's how you can tell that that's what they're going to do. Arthur Swart, I live in the woods. Oh, Hurricane Eunice nearly leveled the lot. Yeah, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of big old trees that have come down in that. We were not badly hit in my area of the country. There was some disruption to trains. There was a train station that lost its roof. Apart from that, pretty unscathed comparatively, but there's some horrendous videos out there. Just go on TikTok. That's all that's on there right now. Let's see what else we got. Rod Tech, will you be making a video of your new job? I like the juggling drink mix video that you showed some time back. Yes, I will be doing some stuff there. I'm also looking after... Oh, if anyone's bored, check out the Instagram account. I set it up on Friday, I think. Thursday or Friday. It's The Rep Bar. And you can follow it. And I'm in a competition at the minute with someone else there who's got another account for the place. And we're seeing who can get the most followers. So I'd really appreciate it. The Rep Bar on Instagram. For any of you guys that still use Facebook things. Right, what else have we got? Yes, so I will be making some videos there. You will be able to see what I'm up to at work. Let's have a look. Such a shame. It's unlikely to see the new iMac Henners. You're right. But it is a case of they just can't make the displays in the volume that they need to at the moment. This has basically come from Ross Displayman, Ross Young, so that's probably going to be June for the iMacs, it looks like, for bigger ones. Jonathan Job, hey Dave, M2 Mac Mini or M1 Max/Pro Mini, which one has more probability of launch at the upcoming spring event and why? I think they're both pretty equal, to be fair. I think we're probably going to get both. The M2, if they are releasing an M2 laptop, they will release an M2 Mac Mini. Just makes sense because they'll want to get those out. But we know we've got 2 desktop Macs that have been registered and 1 laptop. Yeah, that kind of just makes all the sense that does. And it's only one size of laptop as well, so we're not expecting to get 2 different sizes of a same chip, if you like. Unless they happen to use the same board, in which case it could potentially be 2 different form factors, I guess. Don't expect that at all, though. Right, let's see. Andrew Davis, if there's no 27-inch iMac, I will have to go for a Mac Mini Pro. Any recommendations for a 27-inch display? I would go for one of the LG Ultra... I think they're called Ultrafines. The LG 5K one that Apple put out with them. You can probably find it on the used market now. I think they might have discontinued it. But I also think at this event we might start to see displays as well. Now, we have heard that there was going to be A13 chips embedded into Apple external displays. Could it be that rather than being a case of that was a GPU to kind of run the display, could it be that this A13 chip inside is actually so you can use universal control and just control the display from your other computer? I think that's a possibility. I think that's a very realistic possibility that an A13... Well, the A12 chip is what's in the Apple TV 4K, and that can drive that display 4K at 60 Hz, no problems. So A13 wouldn't be any dramas at all in a 4.5K display, I would say. I think that's probably a reasonable guess. I've just noticed Henners has asked about about Apple monitors. That's a possibility. So yeah, let's have a look. What else do we have? Rob Durnford, do you think Tim is being overpaid, especially with a 99 million potential pay deal? Rob, absolutely not. Apple is the most valuable company on the planet. Tim's pay is nowhere near the highest from people on the planet. So, no, he's not. Apple's insanely profitable. He's doing an incredible job of actually getting stuff out the door, keeping stuff in stock in the vast majority of cases. So, no, he's doing a cracking job. He's definitely worth more to the company at this point than Steve Jobs would have been if he was still here. Phil Gilligan, I figure although new kit is very juicy and sexy, I'll stick with my M1 Mini and second tier 14-inch for a good while. Save me from bankruptcy that way. Yeah, I'm not probably going to buy a huge amount of new stuff. I might try and trade up the Mac Mini for a Mac Mini Pro, probably not a Max. I don't need the Max. But a Pro might be nice. A Pro might be a win. But I know there have been a few little issues with the 14 and 16-inch Pros that I'd like to make sure that those have been resolved probably in software before then. I think there's still a few bugs in there. Phil Gilligan, yeah, my son got blown down the road today walking. I hope he's okay. I'm going to laugh because it is funny watching people get blown over by the wind. But I do hope he's okay. Lit 8, is it raining? It was absolutely throwing it down. You couldn't see the nearby buildings because the rain was so heavy earlier. Let's see. Michael Moy, Andrew, pain buying monitors at the moment because of the pandemic. Hard to get and expensive. I'm partial to Dell Ultra Sharps at 4K. LG Ultrafine is great for 5K and 4K. Yeah, the LG panels are great. That's what you get in an iMac, is an LG panel, so you can't really go too wrong with that. Henna's saying Apple monitors. Yeah, we've just kind of touched on that, what that A13 chip inside could be for. Would be great to get an Apple monitor. Is there no Space Gray mouse and keyboard anymore, Werner Weiss? No, not right now, because they discontinued the iMac Pro, which is what those came with. So not right now, but I'm pretty sure it will be back, and probably with some new stuff on it. Perhaps they're going to do a built-in trackpad or something along those lines. I'd be interested to see what they decide to do that makes it better. But I know the new iMacs have got more rounded corners and things like that, so it could just be an aesthetic change and adding Touch ID. John Malkin, could iPad Pro get its own M1 chip? There wasn't rumours of another M1 chip other than M1 Pro, M1 Max, M1 Duo, and M1 Quad. No, the M1 Pro's, the iPad Pro's already got the M1 chip. It doesn't need another one. It'll go to M2 next. That's just what they'll do. The iPad Pro will get the same as the base level of Max, as far as I can tell. I don't see why they would need a separate one, unless they were trying to make it more efficient, perhaps. Because I believe the M1s in the iPad Pro struggle a little bit on battery life compared to the past. Henna's, I would totally have one of those new Mac Minis with an Apple monitor. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great setup. I would assume it's going to be a 24-inch monitor with the 4.5K display from the iMac. That would make a lot of sense. But we'll see. There's apparently 3 different size monitors in the works. 24, 27, and 32-inch, presumably. Phil Gilligan, bugs. I didn't have any with mine. Fine. Only issues with certain SD cards, slow to rewrite. So I've got a friend that's got the 14-inch, and he's had some random freezes and crashes. Could be software related, could be to do with individual apps that he's running. Don't really know. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be flawless. There have been a few videos where people are just not as enamored with it as they hoped they would be. We know that Intel's come out with their Alder Lake, I think it is. Is that the latest one? I think it's Alder Lake. They've brought out the Alder Lake CPUs, which on maximum speed beat it, but also, draw 6 times the power, I think. So not really something you can use in a laptop for more than an hour or so. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely headroom for these things as well. There's definitely headroom for Mac Pros that are going to have multiple M1 Max CPUs, potentially up to 4, it seems. And I think 4 M1 Maxes would be a pretty beefy machine. 40 cores, 32 of those being performance cores, 8 efficiency cores, and 128 GPUs would be beefy. That's going to be a beefy boy. Tim Beaton, my M1 Mac Mini has restarted a few times over the last couple of months. Is that like random restarts where it wasn't intended, or is that just like you've restarted it a few times in a few months? Because that's not bad going. Let's see. Andrew Davies, if it's only 24-inch display, may as well buy the iMac 27-inch, would make more sense. Yeah, if you were going to go for a Mac Mini and you didn't intend to upgrade your Mac Mini. If you intended to buy a 24-inch display and a Mac Mini, and then you want to be able to replace your Mac Mini regularly and keep the display, that's actually going to be a much better idea in terms of resale value and keeping your investment low into keeping yourself up to date on the Macs. This is something we did a whole video on, like how you can save 66% on what Apple offers their leasing for, which is basically by buying the latest one and then selling it as soon as the next one comes out to buy the next one. You stay right up to date. It costs you about $100 a year. I think we worked out to $120. It's a pretty good way of doing things. So let's see, Sharon B. Do you think Monterey is as terrible as some are saying? I'm not experiencing any problems, but some say it's more glitchy than past OSs. Absolutely not. I've had no issues with Monterey whatsoever. It's been a couple of memory leaks. It's very difficult to know if that is because of M1 or if it's because of Monterey or if it's because of dodgy software, because I use stuff from Adobe. The one thing that I found is that even in Safari, certain pages will just use absolute gobs of data. Facebook at one point was using 54 gigs of RAM on my 8 gig Mac Mini, which is what this is streaming on right now and what I make all the videos on. So 54 gigabytes for one Facebook page was, I think, a little bit high. Again, not something that's happened regularly, but yes, a couple of little issues with Safari. That's the worst that I've seen. Michael Moy, the issues are on the 14-inch and 16-inch, and far more likely Monterey. Yeah, it could well be, but as I say, I've not been seeing any of those issues. Phil Gilligan, to be honest, I actually wish I'd saved the money and stuck with my mini. Shiny toy syndrome got me. Yeah, as I say, there's a few people saying that. Basically, the M1 is bloody good, and the M1 Pro and M1 Max is better. Is it enough better that you needed to upgrade? Probably not. A lot of people probably upgraded, regret it a bit because they realised that the M1 was actually really very good. I think that might be where some of these issues are coming from. And remember, if you were to have a pair of M1 Mac Minis on the go with their own displays, you access it all with one keyboard and mouse. You can have your YouTube videos or your stock checkers going on a couple of displays over here, and that's then not going to slow down the stuff you're doing on other displays. So that's actually probably a better way of doing multiple, as long as you're using sort of shared drives and things like that, so you can access data. You shouldn't have any problems at all. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So let's see. So you did have some random restarts, Tim. That's fair enough. Yeah, I think there have been some issues, some memory leaks, some Wi-Fi cutting out. Michael, was it Mac Mini for the Wi-Fi thing? The issue that the Mac Mini has is because it's basically all made of blooming aluminium. It's not great for Wi-Fi signals and Bluetooth coming through. So I think that might be one of the things that they're resolving by putting. Everyone says Perspex top on this. I think it's going to be a glass top. Just makes a lot more sense for what Apple does. And it would look the same on the designs if you haven't got all the materials listed. See what I mean? So I think that's probably what we'll see. It'll probably be a nice glass top. Also something you're not going to be throwing in your bag and probably not going to be getting damaged too. Michael Moy, Intel had an analyst day on Thursday and laid out their plans for the next couple of years, and it's really aggressive. AMD's moving up to their Zen 4 launch this summer too, I think. This is fine, Michael. Intel's had aggressive plans for years. They just haven't been able to keep up with them. That's the problem. They can't manufacture stuff in the nodes that everyone wants. They can't get their processors down to the process size that it needs to be on. So very difficult. Very difficult. You can be as ambitious as you want, but if you can't make the things, it's tricky. Tim Bateman might be due to Docker with an internal drive connected. Don't know. Yeah, maybe. It's very difficult to know which things have caused restarts. Wave Ickle. In 4 months, my M1 Pro Max has never rebooted on its own. Correction maybe happened once. Other than that, I have to reboot to fix issues with speakers crackling kind of often. Okay, that's a bit annoying, but also not like the worst thing in the world. Remember, we're coming from computers that we literally had to turn off every night, and then we've gone to Macs that now will last the best part of a week without running out of battery, let alone being switched off for a physical restart. So, the world's doing quite well. Michael Moy, Monterey 12.2 broke Bluetooth and sleep. People finding their MacBook Pros drained of battery overnight. Did an emergency point release 12.2.1. That's pretty careless letting that bug through. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if it's not been caught by people that are using it in the beta phases, which is pretty much what should happen, the whole point of these betas is that people report these problems. If Apple doesn't know about it, it's very difficult. All of a sudden, everyone gets it. they have the issue, then they fix it. At least it's fixed. That's the main thing. Tim Beaton, that's Meta. Yes, they use all of the memory. Let's see what else we got. Oh, that was awful audio. I think I might have hit the table. Sorry, guys. I need to find a better way of mounting this mic so that it's not mounted from the table. But because it's a standing desk, stand-sit desk, if it's not attached to this, then I have to keep moving it. So there we go. Haven't had issues with Bluetooth. Tim Beaton, not plexiglass yet. I agree. I think it's got to be glass. I stayed on Big Sur in the Mini. No problems there. See, I had problems with Big Sur on Bluetooth for the Mini, and now I don't have any problems with it recently, so I don't know. I'm not sure it's a hardware thing. I'm not sure it's a software thing. I think sometimes it's just weird interference that happens in your home and gets in the way of things, perhaps. Arthur's what? Do you have hubs attached to the MacBook Air? Do you think hubs attached to a MacBook Air M1 slowdown SSDs attached via Thunderbolt? I have an I don't think so. I think in most cases, if you're getting slowdowns through a hub, it's probably because the hub isn't delivering enough power to the SSD. That would be my guess. I can't really put too much of a guess in that. And also, you don't know how good the controllers in any given hub are. So it would come down to that as well. Tim Beaton, given that Intel seemed to be going down the efficiency power core setup, do you think x86 is on the way out? Well, the efficiency power core setup is still x86, so I'm not 100% sure if that's actually going to affect that. I think x86 has probably still got like a decade before it's overtaken fully, and the majority of people are using ARM or RISC-V or whatever else. I know Intel's got some stakes in RISC-V now, so that's probably the way that they'll go. They're still having to license stuff from AMD now because they were the ones that came up with the 64-bit version that worked well, so there's all sorts of mess going on there. But we will see. Rod Tech, do you think there will be a time when Apple will stop innovating? Yes, everyone will run out of ideas eventually, I guess, but, you know. Sharon B, have you seen Rene Ritchie's latest on Intel chips surpassing M1? Very interesting. Would love to see the two of you have a convo. Yeah, I've reached out to Rene a couple of times. We've chatted briefly on Twitter on a few threads, but never really got far with it. I'd love to have him on this year's version of the IKversary. We will be doing that again, by the way, where we did the 6-hour stream last year. Might push it a little bit, maybe 8 hours this year. We'll see. 9 be good. But I do want to get just more variety of people on. So this year I would love to have some female guests, for example. It was a bit of a sausage fest last year. Let's balance things out a little bit. There's some great creators out there from all sorts of backgrounds, and I don't want it to just be middle-aged white guy chat. That's I cover that base already. So what else have we got here? Yeah, I mean, Intel surpassing M1, yeah, they will, but not on efficiency. They're nowhere near on efficiency. They're nowhere near on the throughput as well in terms of memory bandwidth and things like that. That's kind of the way that Apple has pushed it, is big wide river gets more water through it than high-speed hosepipe, right? So, yeah. At least NVIDIA didn't buy ARM. That's very true. That's very true. John Malkin, when will Apple finish the M2 family rollout? Now, I do think that it's going to be a lot smoother once we get to M2. I think the biggest problem, as I've said a few times, is not the chips, but actually the new design stuff. That's where the problems are coming. Mini LED is probably the biggest pain in Apple's backside right now, which is probably why we're hearing about OLED. I don't think it's because Apple wants to go to OLED. I think it's because OLED is a more kind of known technology than Mini LED. It's got higher yields. It's being used in different stuff. So I think that's what's going on. That would be where I would say. Evan Rogers, straight in with the super chat. Thank you, my friend. What Apple product are you most excited for this year? I'm excited to see what the new iMacs look like. Honestly, I'm really excited at the fact that they might come out with a MacBook. I've talked about this earlier in this show and on its own special show. 13-inch MacBook Pro, take away the touch bar, make it cheaper, call it the MacBook. I don't think we need to have another 13-inch MacBook Pro with the wrong display and a low-end chip. Doesn't make any sense. Now we've got MacBook Pros with Pro and Max chips. Pro machines should have those. Mac Mini Pro should have those, if we're going to call it such a thing. Do you know what I mean? I think that's where we should be looking. That's where we should be pointing our focus now. If you want to put Pro in the name of the Mac, it should have a Pro chip in it. Doesn't count for iPad Pro. iPad Pro getting a Mac chip in general is absolutely overkill already. So that's what I think we're going to be doing. Wave Ickle, is this time pizza? I mean, always pizza. We had pizza in the last one too, but it was right at the end when John Prosser arrived. We had pizza then. But yeah, I think this is what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to get. I think the biggest problem Apple has got right now is that they just cannot get the displays that they want in place. I don't think they want to release the new MacBook Pro design, the new iMac designs, without getting the mini LED displays to put in it, because otherwise they'll have to create a new LCD display and then throw it away after a year. So there's no point in just rushing it out. Doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think that's our biggest issue right now. I think the Mac Mini will come with the Pro and the M2 in it, and then our MacBook with M2 as well. I think that's what they're going to do. I think that's going to be our $999 MacBook Air, $11.99 for a MacBook Air. 15. No, we're going to be still up around the 2,000 mark, aren't we, for MacBook Pros? But that's okay. Maybe we get the 15-inch MacBook Air, and that sits in the $1,500-ish slot. That would work for me. I didn't think they would do a 15-inch MacBook Air, just to be completely clear and transparent. But if you want to fill that gap, that would be a really good thing to put in there. Evan Rogers got distracted by Cyberpunk update. Sorry to hear that, brother. Is anyone else into like mobile gaming? I'm kind of tempted by the Steam Deck thing because I've already got games for it and it's actually not stupidly expensive, $350, and it will work as a desktop PC as well. Maybe. Michael Moy, we need to get China to get through Omicron and then things should get better quickly. Is Omicron really bad in China? I really don't know. This is the kind of thing that, you know, if you're dealing stocks, I guess, you would be looking at all of that stuff. Evan Rogers, could Apple bifurcate the A chip, at least in a marketing wise, to give the Pro models an A16 Pro? Oh, in terms of the iPhones, they kind of already do that, because in the iPhone 12 that I've got, so the Pro Max and the Pro got 6 gigs of RAM, and the regular iPhone's got 4. So they already kind of do that, and they're already kind of doing it on the A50. Which one have we got now in the iPhone 13? A15 chip, right? Yeah, that's it. The A15 has also got like some with more GPU cores as well. So I think that's kind of what they're doing already. It's not quite the same, but I think there's definitely an edge to that they're already kind of differentiating them, not in quite the same way, but still kind of. Sharon B, I agree, Apple is all in on mini LED. Yeah, I think so. I think the OLED stuff, they've been investigating it to see if they can get it to work in the way that they want to. I don't think it does. I think that's why they're kind of pushing away from it. But they're having to obviously keep their options open, because mini LED has obviously become a bit of a problem. X5493 would love one last 13-inch MacBook Pro with the touch bar. Drew thinks it might be possible. I mean, they might be doing it with the touch bar. A lot of people are saying, oh, it'll work out cheaper for them to make it with the touch bar than without, because they haven't got to reconfigure the lines. But that touch bar has got to cost, what, $30, $50, something like that? It's an OLED touch bar. That can't be that cheap of a component that you know, removing it and putting in regular buttons wouldn't be cheaper, I would say. And they've already got designs for that. They've already got machining. They've already got programming for making those unibodies without the touch bar, because that's what the cheap MacBook Pro 13 used to be. But for the love of God, don't put the butterfly keyboard back in. That's the one thing. Linda Lawson's here. How you doing? Hey. Thomas Rabenstein. If this is the prediction for the spring event, then Mac Mini Pro will be mine. Yeah, so Mac Mini Pro, Mac Mini M2, MacBook M2. I think that's what I'm expecting to happen. We've already got MacBooks with the M1 Pros in. Chuck it into a Mac Mini. Give us the new form factor. Everyone's happy. I think that's what's going to happen. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. I'm not. It's a bit strange. Rodtech, you put in an order for Steam Deck. I don't think we can in the UK yet. I'm not 100% sure. But no, I haven't. As you can probably tell from the fact I didn't know. Arthur Swart, why not drop the Pro edition altogether? The Pro product is no longer targeting just the Pro users. The normal products are just as Pro as the average user is looking for. So do you mean in terms of like all the iPhones, or are we talking about in MacBook Pros, or are we talking about what? Because the MacBook Pro that we've just had is definitely something that is targeted for real pros, especially in video editing. That's the main thing though. Like outside of video editing, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference from the sounds of things. Is it faster? Yes, it is, but it's not as dramatically faster as anything else. 15-inch MacBook Air could be the thinnest laptop on the market. Yep, absolutely could. I think it's going to be thicker than it is right now. Certainly at the front end, because it's not going to keep that wedge. It's going to be a uniform thickness all the way through. I would say the bottom is probably going to be about the same thickness as an iPad. So let's just pull my iPad Air out and we'll have a look at that for a bit of context. So I'm actually using a case now. This is going to be revealed in the everyday carry that's in the Canon in edit at the moment. But let's have a look at that. So I think that could be the thickness of the base of the MacBook Air, which is pretty thin. I think it's still... Yeah, that seems about right, because you've got your USB-C port in there. So if the base of the MacBook Air is like that, I think that's pretty good. Pretty good. Evan Rogers, I agree, Linda, we need more Mini. Yes, we do. We absolutely need more Mini. Thomas Rabenstein talking about gaming. I'm still waiting for AAA games in the App Store. That just comes down to developers. Apple can't really do much about that apart from buying some studios. Arthur Smart, Mac Pro, iPad Pro, etc. Well, Mac Pro we definitely need, because Mac Pro is Mac Pro. It's like Series Pro 28 core Xeon processors. That's not consumer grade at all. There's definitely a line there once you're getting into your tens of thousands. That's pro equipment that's being bought to do a job. That's not something that's being bought by consumers that want to hang out. So yeah, I definitely think Pro is still going to be important for Apple. Pro hardware for people that need to do specific jobs. But I feel like one of the things that we've talked about in the past as well is that with gaming, people are saying, oh, why won't they bring out a gaming console, or why won't they bring out like a games-focused piece of hardware, like a handheld? Because we've got iPhones and we've got iPads and we've got Apple TVs. They already exist. Like, if we did a more powerful Apple TV, absolutely. But it's still going to be an Apple TV that you can game on. It's not going to be a gaming console and then you have to have an Apple TV as well. Do you see what I mean? There's no real reason to go that specialized in the hardware. It's like saying, why would you, why wouldn't you have a MacBook that is purely for video editing? That if you want to edit a document on, you have to go somewhere else and use a different piece of hardware. It doesn't make sense to be that specialized, I don't think. If Apple wanted to do gaming, they should probably buy a games company. And that's pretty much what would be the best thing to do. Buy a studio and then get them to port everything that they've got. Or they build something that is a little bit more ambitious than Rosetta, which is already incredibly ambitious, to port stuff over. Now, one thing that I've just heard about recently, I think in the last few days, is that Intel is now being a lot more generous with licensing soft cores. Not soft core, that's a different kind of thing to license, but soft cores where basically emulation of x86 cores. There was a big controversy at one point where everyone thought that Apple might have to remove Rosetta ahead of time from the M series chips, because Intel was saying basically you can't emulate our code, and I understand that. They wouldn't let you run it on anything other than physical x86 cores, and now they're licensing people being able to emulate it. So that's an improvement that might lead to us having better emulation on the Macs, and also better kind of Windows emulation in general. Sorry, whenever I'm talking for ages, my nose really itches. Apologies. I'll just keep on. Anyway. Linda Lawson, give Dave a like to promote the channel, please. Agreed, do that. And also, Instagram.com/therepbar. Let's see if any of you guys have followed it already for me. Here we go. No, you haven't. Right, let's have a quick look. Can you briefly speak on your experience with the AirPods after 3 months? Absolutely. So I've got them right here. I've just been talking about them on my everyday carry video that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So this, I'm blown away by them, honestly. The audio on them is better than the AirPods 2. I don't know how... Oh, thank you, Tim. Really appreciate that super chat as well. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah. Audio on these is superb. Really impressed with spatial audio. That was the one thing that I hadn't obviously experienced really before, because I've never had Pro AirPods. Spatial audio is awesome. Listen to the Hamilton soundtrack in that. It sounds great. So I really like that. More than anything, though, the microphones on these are just stunning. Really, really good. Very, very helpful when I'm out and about. And that's one of the things I'm talking about in this video as well, is that you can use these to make videos quite happily. We did the first outside one was in the churchyard, and it just sounded beautiful. We'd got this kind of surround sound going on of all the birds tweeting and all of that sort of stuff. It sounded really, really good. So yeah, I think they're absolutely worth the money. Thomas Rabenstein, Mac Pro, just stack some Mac Mini Pros on top of each other and connect them. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea, to be honest. I think what you're basically going to get is that, but in a bigger case, and with probably a bit bigger pipes in between, if you like. So that's probably the biggest thing that will happen. But yeah, I do think adding Mac Minis with a pair of displays to your setup and then using universal control is going to be a pretty good solution for people. We're going to finish this off in about 5 minutes, guys, so I'm going to get through what's left on here. If you do have any questions you want me to answer on tomorrow's show, we will still do a show tomorrow, hopefully out about the normal time, and I'll cover all of the stuff about changes on the channel as well tomorrow. But just to give you a heads up. Let's see. Phil Gilligan, okay, that one's just talking to Linda in the chat. You're just having your own conversations now. You got bored of me. Henners, do you think the new Mac Mini will be smaller, considering the internals are much smaller with M1? Yes, it's going to be flatter, and also they're taking out the power supply, which is basically what took up like one side of the Mac Mini as well. That's going to be on an external brick, so it gives them a lot more room for cooling for things like the M1 Pro, M1 Max. And let's see what else we've got here. Arthur Swart, Thomas, me too, playing most games on my 5.1 Mac Pro with an X5680 and GTX 1050 Ti 4GB. The new MacBook Air M1 can't keep up at all. They're not built for gaming. However, if you put the stuff in and it's built in metal instead of built in, instead of built for other stuff and then translated, it's going to do a lot better job. Sharon B asks, Apple makes more games than Sony, Microsoft and Steam combined. Oh, it makes more in-games than them. It's just in mobile. I don't think Apple is panicking about AAA. I agree completely. What I think is, though, that there's less Apple users that probably would buy a $50, $60 game up front compared to the casual stuff that goes on. But yeah, Apple doesn't need to worry. They're absolutely fine. They're doing well. What Wi-Fi and Thunderbolt could M2 family have inside? Wi-Fi, I would think it's probably going to be Wi-Fi 6, maybe not 6E, and Thunderbolt 4, I would guess. That would be my guess, just makes sense. Wave Ickle, repeat that one for other channel or outlet you mentioned. Oh, at the rep bar on Instagram. That would be great. Thank you so much. Is that the base model AirPods, Linda? Yeah, it's the AirPods 3rd generation. It's not the Pros. It's the 3rd gens, which hopefully you can sort of see there. It's a little bit blown out because it gets really close to the light on top of the camera. Tim Beaton, even Sergeant Pepper Atmos release sounded excellent. That's good to know. I've not listened to any Beatles on it. Might have to give that a go. Wanted a laptop without a damn webcam. Just don't turn it on. Doesn't matter. Dev Ack. You just don't need to turn it on. If the light's not on, it's not got any power. It's fine. Sharon, thank you so much for the super chat. Evan, another super chat. Thank you very much as well, sir. Let's see what else we've got. Dev Ack, are we expecting new MacBooks to be announced too? Yeah, hopefully 13-inch. Probably no touch bar. This is what I'm expecting with M2 inside. That's what I'm really hoping for. I don't think anyone else is saying that it's going to be a MacBook, not Pro. That's my thoughts, but I could well be wrong because people are. Tim Beaton likes people. I agree. Everyone smash that like button. Really appreciate it. Although we've got 34 people watching and we've got 29 likes. That's not bad. Rod Tech. People use other computer brands for Pro stuff and they do not call them Pro System, etc. Razer, Alienware. No, they don't. But then they're not doing a consistent lineup in the same way that Apple does. Apple just wants to communicate to you quickly and easily what you're getting. So MacBook should be the baseline, Air should be the thin premium, and MacBook Pro the workhorse. It just makes it so much easier to know what you're buying. Oh, John Malkin, another super chat. Well, a super badge, super sticker. It's one of those things. Thank you, sir. This is one of these things where, like, if you don't want to send a message, you can send a picture of a super bean thing flying through the air. It's very exciting. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We are going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here for my little ramble. I'll go through in a little bit more kind of coherent way tomorrow what we're doing with the channel. But for now, just know that we're still going to put out as much content as we are, probably a little bit more because there's less constraint to it. There's going to be some more evergreen content. Still going to try and do news every day, but probably not at the same time every day. But I'll still try and give you like an hour's heads up so that you know when it's coming. We should still be able to do a premiere most of the time, and I might be able to get in and chat a little bit more often with you. Thank you all so much for your support. Really appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.